Yeah, right. I got a little bit behind this week in getting out my coaching call, and it's sick kids. You know, fighting it myself a little bit, but be all right. Um, so the topic I want to talk about is going to be becoming a new version of you. Um, how to break identity loops, eliminate what may be holding you back. Sometimes it can be simple and easy, and sometimes it takes a little bit more digging and changing to become that new version or identify, some of the components that may be causing you to not step into who you want to be, or some of those programs that are running in the background, or how you respond. So, how to break the identity loop and try to identify any other components that may be holding you back. So, So obviously we do not get a new body until we become a new person, right? It changes the habits, the not only things that are going to come from a physical standpoint, but they think there's so much more of this from a physical. There's so much more of a mental, uh, and the mental can very well impact the physical and vice versa. So we are one. So on both sides, we have to define what that looks like for us. So to get new results, you have to again shift your identity, show up a different way, change your habits, implement that consistently. Um, so a lot of guys want to chase outcomes without upgrading who they are. We think we can get from point A to point B with brute force. Sometimes we can, but it doesn't always have to be hard. We can do it easier if we step back and do some work on ourselves first, and get clear. That's another thing I would say: get clear on what you desire. What does it look like? So, why do we get stuck? We can go out win in business, but feel behind in health many times, and I've done that myself. And I'm in the health industry, sacrificed my physical well-being to move the needle forward from a business standpoint. So did I have to do that? I felt like sometimes there was a out of balance component that I knew I had to go through a life cycle. So to some degree, yeah, could I have done a better job of taking care of myself? You betcha. So success may hide weakness in other areas. You know, you execute professionally by non-negotiable, with that personality, showing up, doing it, and sometimes doing it the hard way and or the way we thought it should be the fastest and easiest, but it's the hardest. Maybe there's other ways to make it even easier and faster. So we always have a gap of where we want to be, who we are right now, and who we want to be or where we want to be. Same thing as far as goals go. So there's a gap of who you are and who you need to become really to achieve what that new person's going to achieve. Now, you framing some of the thought processes and on getting clear on who that person looks like, how to show up, how to communicate, how they operate. If you know some of those components, you can start implementing that thought process in. So those actions start mimicking where you want to be. So the gap can create frustration, irritability, burnout. So emotional responses too. And then when we have those emotional responses, sometimes it triggers some programs that self-sabotage components and or loops that pull us back to who we used to be because we're really familiar with that person. The bigger the gap, the louder the internal tension, and I would say sometimes the ability to identify some of the components that may be holding you back and or build a negative component to reinforce why staying stuck or staying who you are is is the best route. Sometimes we have that self component that continues to show up. So many times if you're stuck, and I've talked to many guys in different situations, and if you're stuck, many times we'll have some justification around it, XYZ. Well, I have to do this to do that, right? Your rationale goes miss workouts, poor choices. I respond that way because, you know, it's stressful. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to sacrifice my well-being. What if you reframe some of that language and said, you know, I'm going to put a good effort in because I'm an efficient worker, but I'm also going to take care of myself because I know it, if I am good, I'll perform better, and I'll have um, more opportunity and more wins and better business, all that, all those components. It's just reframing, right? So high intelligence becomes a excuse generator, right? Or I would say sometimes our arrogance gets in the way. And again, some of that is some of how we operate. Our operating system needs upgraded, really. Standards quietly decline as you do those justifications, right? I see this too. We create situations to have urgency. Maybe we put stuff off. Maybe we don't plan well. Maybe we feel like we're important, so we need to do everything ourselves. So you thrive in chaos and deadlines. You avoid stillness and reflection. Sometimes stillness and reflection will give you the path of less resistance. But we were programmed that way. We have to have chaos running 24/7. Urgency feels productive, but avoids a growth, right? We stay in that loop. We stay like, let's go put this fire out, that fire out, this fire out. And we truly have not taken the time to get clear on who we are and where we truly want to go. But that's a program in itself. Ego, right? Yeah, my ego gets my way all the time too, guys. So you believe I already know what to do. I have to reframe that sometimes. Sometimes I do believe that I could figure it out, but I know somebody else could do it faster and better. So maybe I pay them. You know, you resist coaching or structure. Ego protects comfort zone. It does. It's going to go back to the least path of resistance where uh, you're most familiar with. And that could be with your eating patterns, that could be with your emotional stress responses, that could be with your coping mechanisms, any of those components. That's going to be a comfort zone to you because your identity and who you are right now is very associated with that. Signs you're stuck, old pain fuel. So you're driven by proving something. Hey, I've been there. I've had to prove um, let's frame it this way. You can use this as a tool to get the needle moving, but you don't want to rely on this to get to the finish line uh, because it will burn you out. I've done it. I've proved a lot of people wrong, and it can be a painful experience because you'll do anything at cost. So you can reframe that, and you can use this to get yourself moving in the right direction. Use that motivation, that old pain, like that's going to motivate you, but you want to reframe it because you need to go to pleasure, who you are. What is it going to be like when you get there? It's easy, simple. So anger or insecurity fuels ambition. Yes, it can. That fuel eventually can damage relationships or burn you out. So the restart loop, all in, this then disappear. This happens in many formats. You're um, doing really well. Everything's calm, collective. Everything seems like it's moving in the right direction. And then it seems like the dam's breaking, all hell breaks loose. Did we create that because we're used to living in the chaos? So you rely on intensity instead of identity. Again, the chaos, consistency is missing. The calm thought process, so controlling your state. So you guys have heard me say this multiple times. It depends on what makes sense for you. So higher standards, not motivation, not hacks, non-negotiable standards in training, nutrition, sleep, integrity, how you operate. Those are truly are going to help you get from point A to point B, becoming that new version of you. Emotional responses. I'm always going to talk about this. Regulate instead of react. Again, I go through times where I react, and instead of regulate. I still it's a component I still work through, work with, and work on, I should say. Respond instead of explode. So you got to be emotionally understanding. Your nervous system must match your ambition, and it should match your new identity, like calm, cool, collect, and again, those who control their state make better decisions. So again, long-term thinking, clarity. What does it look like, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Identity shift. Who are you going to be? What does that look like? Stop living in, the 30-day challenges or the chaos that we create. You know, so who must I become? You know, these next 30 days, 90, 120, 5 years, 10 years. What does that look like? Because what we're doing now is going to impact the next 5 to 10. And how we show up every day in these next 30 are going to impact the next 5 or 10. So letting go of the old version can be challenging, uh, release the man who negotiates discipline. It's just part of what you do. You don't have to have those negative connotation language around things that you can have success with, right? Release the man who hides in work. Yeah, well, work's always going to be there. So sometimes we just have to work smarter and do it a little bit different. That's just how I am. This is language patterns. Okay, that's always going to get you so far. If you're laying identity there, it's you're going to be stuck. So here's some framework. Define the future identity clearly. Install three keynote habits immediately. Like what are the three things you need to change or can change today that's going to move you forward? Identify those and go ahead and install them. This is example. This is pretty simple. It's down, granular. So hit protein targets daily, 10 minutes decompression after work, sleep minimum standard nightly. So this is example. Now you can go very deep within this framework as well. You hear me talk about environment a lot. Environment has a big impact. Reduce alcohol exposure, set boundaries around work hours, control phone and media consumption. What are you consuming? Is it negative? Upgrade your circle. Identify individuals who associate with where you want to be. Here's some relapse components that happen. Uh, that negotiation creeps back. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, here's how I always respond. Oh, you got to watch your language pattern around that identity because otherwise you take it on. Sleep declines, irritability increases, blame replaces ownership. So obviously, as a provider, we'd like for you to operate um, in a calm state, in an emotional, intelligent state. So a grounded, disciplined, emotionally strong leader, the one who reacts well, communicates to the kids well. It shows them leadership that they're looking for. So how how you respond from emotional or control your emotion in situations is important. But you can also help with the environment you're currently in by controlling it with your own emotional responses. So people will mimic you on how you respond and how your energy component is. So, how do I get past this hump, get in shape, get past this roadblock? Who you start asking who you must become. What does that look like? What are those, 3 to 4 things that you need to change and that you can change today and implement them on that new identity that will move the needle forward for you, you know, and get clear on it. Build demand first, results follow, right? And identify who you want to be, what does it look like, how you want to operate, and then the implementation becomes an automatic component. So wash, rinse, repeat. Look for those loops and those things that may pull you back. You also want to be very emotionally aware if there's triggers that try to pull you back as well, and to see if you can identify those triggers and understand those triggers, why you have an emotional response to certain specific situations or thoughts. Dig deeper. How's it serve you? What's the lesson? Once you learn that lesson, you can let it go. It doesn't have control over you anymore. So hopefully this helps, guys. You know, becoming a new version, change. Sometimes our unconscious mind likes to pull us back into the old version because it's easier to stay there from a mental standpoint. Now it can be abusive in every other format, but the comfort zone of being in discomfort, you know, it can be a true thing. So let me know, hit me up if you guys need a coaching call. I'll talk with you guys soon.